Welcome back to the channel, guys. Lately we've been doing some of these how-to build videos, and I was talking about how to build like a 400 horsepower Genesis Coupe 2.0, and how to build a BK1 3.8 and things like that. And this will be the last part of the Genesis Coupe series, as I dive into how to build the BK2, so 2013 through 2016 Genesis Coupe NA. There will also be follow-up videos to this for my Genesis Coupe crowd, where I'm talking about how to build a forced induction 3.8. That obviously takes a bigger budget than what we're working with for the past four videos. Um, but yeah, let's get started. So yeah, I started to make the video, and I got this message saying our web server is going to be down for about 20 minutes. So yeah, so there's a reason why today's video is going to be released a little bit later than normal. I'm gonna wait for the server to update. Hopefully it gives us a smoother running website, because I know for the past month or so our website's had some lag to it. So hopefully this fixes everything, and yeah, I'll come back and finish up the rest of the video in a few minutes here.
One eternity later.
Alright guys, so this is where we're going to start, at shopbtr.com. As you can see, we have a brand new look to our website. I decided to update it after, I believe it was 2 years of how our website looked before. We do have the more popular cars that we have listed up front, and if you have cars that's not there, you can always go on the left side here and you'll be able to choose from the drop down menu. If you ever have a car and you're following us and that we don't list on our website, or you still want parts for it, don't hesitate to email us at support@bloodtyperacing.com, or message us on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll be able to source out parts for you. Make sure we get you set up with the right part for the right price. So let's get started today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Genesis Coupe parts. Alright, so we're talking about the BK2 today, so 3.8 GDI is where we want to go. But before we do anything, if you've watched any of my other videos, first thing I always tackle is the suspension. The OEM wheel gap on these cars and the inset of the stock wheels is horrendously ugly. And the suspension is actually not that great from factory either. They're not great handling bumps. They're not great handling bumps, especially at high speed, like on highway and things like that. So I do recommend upgrading your suspension. For this example, we're going to go with the Silver's coilovers. I thought they upgraded my site. What is going on here? It's supposed to be faster, but apparently not. Okay, so we're gonna go and look at Silvers. I think it might be page 2. So our website lists all the parts in alphabetical order. So if there is a particular brand you're looking for, you just have to work down the list. So Silvers makes 4 different type of coilovers for Genesis Coupes. Obviously for the BK1s, the 10 through 12, and then there's the BK2s, 13 through 16. And then two differences are, one of them is actually a true rear coilover, one of them is not. So what does that mean? The true rear means the coil, the actual spring coil, is part of the strut in the back, whereas in the standard version, it's like the OEM suspension where the coil spring is separate from the strut. I personally prefer the OEM style, but some people do want the true coil for the rears. So there's 2 options you can choose, both same price. So you do what makes you happy. As for spring rates, I would recommend staying with default unless you know for a fact you want a certain spec. Super low kit, I personally don't think that's going to be something that I would ever put on my car, but if you want to go that low, why go with coils? Might as well go bags. But some people do want to slam their cars, and be really stancy about it. So that might be something you want to look into. Unless you do custom spring rates, there's no reason to go Swift spring. Rear dampening extender. I honestly, you set it and forget it type of deal, but for $30, it might be something you want to add on. I'm not going to add it on in this this video, but you know, those are little options that you can always look into. All right, so now that we have the coilover added to cart, if it adds sometime today. All right, now we're gonna go and take care of this wheel issue, because the OEM wheels, whether it be the 18s or 19s, they inset a lot, and they're not the prettiest wheels. I mean, they were okay when the cars first came out. You know, they were okay looking wheels, but they're not the best, honestly. If you go under our Genesis Coupe section, there are wheel packages that we do have listed. These are perfect fitment for the Genesis Coupes. The company I work closely with is Ace Alloy Wheels, and we have created a few of their wheels packaged for the Genesis Coupe. The good thing about Ace Alloy, I will actually link a link up here that actually shows the difference between flow form wheels and non-flow form wheels. Ace Alloy is flow form, so they are stronger, lighter, almost as good as fully forged wheels, except a lot less in price. So that's what we're gonna go with today. The brake option wise, you really don't have to worry about it. Just always select the OEM Brembo option unless you have bigger brakes like Willwood. At that point, you will have to get brake dimension from Willwood so that we can send it to Ace to make sure that they cut the wheel to make sure that you get enough clearance with it. But if you have OEM Brembo brakes, or if you have just standard brakes, then you're fine. So this is for a full set. You just do quantity of one and add that to cart. So now that we have lowered the car and put some nice wheels on it, now we're actually going to go and focus on doing the performance side of things. So let's go back to Genesis Coupe. Bear with me. They're supposed to have upgraded this server by now to make it faster, but this is not any faster today for some reason. It might be my internet or it might be the server, but it is what it is. Go Genesis Coupe. And now we're gonna go into the 3.8 GDI section, the 2013 through 16. This is where this is gonna be the modification that's specific to the BK238s. So, let's start very simple. We're gonna do intake and exhaust first. Intake wise, honestly, any of them really work. It's really a preference of what you want. I personally saw the best results with AEM. So I am going to select the AEM. It's up to you if you want to use a different intake. It's not going to be one of those make it or break it type of parts. They all flow better than OEM, so there's that. Okay, so intake has been added. Now let's go to the exhaust side of things. With the 3.8s, being that it is a V6 and we're tuning for NA, we want the best flow possible. So what we want to do is we want to really work on trying to find a true dual exhaust setup where bank 1 and bank 2 are not going to share the exhaust gases and create turbulence. We just want it straight out. The best one, in my opinion, would be the Arc Performance Grip exhaust. This does create a full true dual exhaust system by doing this. So we're going to do the Arc Grip. They do have an option for polished tip or burnt tip. Up to you, whichever one you want to get. Let me add that to cart. And then to finish off that exhaust, we want to add the downpipes and test pipes to it. And Arc also has a downpipe test pipe combo that we can use right here. Now this is going to keep a straight through, for both banks. So you're not going to be causing any type of turbulence, and it's going to have a real good exhaust flow out the back. All right, so now we have the intake and exhaust taken care of. There are a few things that I do want to add on here that would give you a bump mid-range. The thing with increasing airflow with NA engines is you will end up losing some low to mid-end torque while gaining the high-end horsepower by increasing the flow. Now, to combat that, we should be definitely tuning the car, which will bring back a lot of the torque that we missed out on. And also using the 3.8 performance intake manifold spacer actually has proven to gain quite a bit of mid-range even without a tune. So we're going to add that next. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Come on, website. Work with me today. Okay, this is also going to be under the intake section. There we go. 3.8 performance intake manifold riser. This creates more volume within the intake manifold by raising the manifold a little bit. I honestly don't know why this works. Wish I could tell you why, but all I know is that they have been proven to work. There have been dyno tests to make sure that this works, and it has actually been proven on more than just several cars. A lot of people run this with great results. Again, I don't know why it works, but it works. Not sure what the science is. I'm not a scientist. Okay, so I think we pretty much have everything covered when it comes to bolt-ons. The next two things I want to add is going to be the most significant power gain for the car. The first thing I want to do is add capability to run E85. What E85 is, it's an ethanol mixtured fuel. So E stands for ethanol, 85 stands for 85% basically. But depending on where you get it, when you get it, it could differentiate anywhere from like 65 to 85%. Now that's a whole another video of ethanol, but we want to run ethanol because it increases octane levels for us to be able to advance timing further and lean out the fuel mixture more. It does have a different stoic point than regular 93 gasoline, so you do run it a lot leaner than regular 93 octane. In turn, you end up gaining quite a bit of power. So that's why we want to go that route. So if you go into fuel here, so this particular item right now, without any of the options, you're literally buying the lines, okay? But if we add this, it's going to add the gauge, which comes with the sensor for the ethanol content and everything. It will appear something like this. All right. It also comes with a wideband capability, so you can add that onto your exhaust system. Excuse me. You could add that onto your exhaust system for when you're tuning, and also you're able to see the AFR right on your gauge to make sure everything is running properly at all times. Also shows you fuel temperature and fuel pressure. So it's a very, very neat tool to have on top of the ethanol content you see here. So if you look at the gauge here when I zoomed in, 11.7 AFR, 85% ethanol, 49.8 psi of fuel pressure, 108.6 degrees of fuel temperature. Like, you see how you can see all of that in one shot. So it's a very neat unit to have. So that's what I would recommend. If you go with the cheaper MTXD kit, this is the type of gauge you will see. So this basically shows the ethanol percentage, and you can scroll through and see the temperature as well. But because of how complete this gauge kit is, this is the one I would recommend. All right, so we're gonna add that one in. Oh man, today. You can do it, website. You can do it. I don't think their update really worked. All right. Last thing now. We have one last thing to do is, in order to bring all these modifications together, we need an ECU tune. There's several ways of getting the tune done, but because of the ethanol fuel we're running, it has to be a custom tune. So we do have a custom tune option for you here. Alpha Speed Custom Tune ECU Service. All right, we're going to click that. We're going to make sure we select the right year for the car. Manual, automatic, there's no difference in price. This is where the difference in price is going to be. 85 or ethanol mix. It says includes additional dyno time. It actually meant to, I need to reword that. It actually should say it incurs additional dyno time. So doing an E85 mix takes longer to tune than regular 93. So if we were to rent out a dyno, you'll have to basically expect to pay more for dyno time. Pop and bang wise, yes or no, that's totally up to you. We're not doing forced induction. This is going to be naturally aspirated. So OEM non-turbo naturally aspirated is no option we want to choose. So let's add that to cart. Keep in mind with the custom tunes that we are offering, we recently started offering the street tune as well as a dyno tune. The option is totally up to you. Once you actually purchase the custom tune from us, we would get in contact with you and we can set up a date where if you wanted to do a street tune, obviously there is no additional cost to it, but we would have to figure out a good stretch of highway where we can go back and forth and do data logs and flashes and things like that. If you were to opt for a dyno tune session, we will rent out a dyno. At that point, you would be responsible for the fee for the dyno. So on a setup like this, we're probably looking at 2 to 3 hours. So make sure you keep that in mind, that is what you're going to see if you do go with a dyno tune option. All right, so this brings the total to $7,966.18. So this covers everything that you need in order to make usually around 330 wheel horse or so on a manual car. That's huge, I mean, this car is rated at 350 at the crank, and they usually in OEM form dyno around 260 at the wheels, which huge drivetrain loss. But bringing up that 260 to 270 wheel horsepower all the way up to 330 or a little higher. I mean, I've seen as high as 340 at the wheels with E85. So it's a big gain. It's almost like, you went from a V6 to a V8 overnight. So that's where you're going to really see a difference. And with having about $2,000 to spend for labor, it's going to cover everything for you. Basically installing the intake, exhaust, intake manifold riser, even the E85 conversion kit, and the suspension as well. You could pretty much expect to spend under $1,000 for everything there, and then you still have a little over $1,000 left over to buy tires, have them fitted on the car, and maybe even get it all aligned for you in a nice, neatly tied bow. So under $10,000, you're going to have one hell of a Genesis Coupe 3.8. All right, so hopefully that helps you out in your future builds on where to go about it. I'm all about buy the right part the first time. Don't cheap out. Sometimes buying those eBay exhaust systems can be tempting because they're definitely cheaper, but there's a reason why they're cheaper. They're not spec'd the right way. They don't flow the right way. They're not the right size. The piping. They're just not going to flow the same amount as these more higher end exhaust systems that are actually thought through and designed. So I would definitely recommend spending the money in the right place the first time. That way you don't have to spend twice or 3 times or 4 times. All right. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will be back on the next one. Most likely, I think the next video is going to cover forced induction for the 3.8s. I'm going to cover it for the BK1 first, and then I'll cover it for the BK2 again. That is going to be the follow-up video to this, probably in the coming weeks. All right. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.